Okay, so good evening, everyone. We've done all of these lectures and getting everything together to basically is in aid of this 3D printed parts that we are trying to supply to people on the front lines of treating this COVID-19. We are doing all of these lectures. We want to donate, go to the website there and donate if you want to. So everything we will be donating and doing all of the production of the parts, but any money left over will be going to Loving by Giving and Bridge to Aid. So this is a completely not-for-profit initiative, but yeah, you don't have to donate if you want to just listen to the lectures. That's also fine. Tonight's lecture is going to be on Intro to Smile Designer Pro. The lecture outline is I'm going to do a quick overview of the advantages of using a 2D mockup software. And then we're going to do a quick overview of Smile Designer Pro. And then I'm going to show you just a video demo of the actual program. And then very quick case. So be very advanced in the sense that you need to know a lot about 3D stuff. It's basically just to give everybody a good idea of what the 2D mock-ups and things like that can do for you. So I'm going to just ask you guys a question quickly, and let's see what the percentages of this is. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong question. Before, I'm going to just close that one. I asked you the wrong question. I've got too many questions on here. Okay, so that's the question. So do you use a 2D mockup software? Okay, so yeah, the votes are coming in, and it looks like most people are not using 2D mockup software. The most difficult things we have when we do these lectures is to know what level to pitch these messages at, and it's always interesting to get a good feedback from the people attending the lectures to know how much they know and things like that. So for most of you, this will be fairly interesting then. So let's have a look at the lecture, what we're going to do now. So yeah, let's go to the next slide. So we're going to do a quick overview of the advantages of using a 2D mockup software. So when you do smile designs in one visit, you are completely in control of the whole process. So this can be very positive or very negative for you. There's also a lot of pressure on the clinician to get it right. This is why I like to use all the tools available to me. So firstly, what I do with the 2D mock-ups is I can give a patient a quick look of how their new smile can look like, or how things will look like when it is more in harmony, and people can see how they would look if they have things done. So the biggest advantage for me is, one, is that it's quick and easy to show a patient how their new smile can look like. And the other thing that it's really helpful for is to analyze the errors and what needs to be corrected. So if we go a little bit further into that, if you look at this slide, you can see that things are not 100% here, but what it helps you to do is look at it a little bit more analytically. So here you can see, for example, that the vertical lines are all correct, but the horizontal curve is off. And without a nice analysis, it's much more difficult to easily. So this is fairly quick and easy to do in software. So the third point is it helps you to analyze uneven gum heights. And for quite a long time, I used to do small design, and I didn't look at the gum height so much because I was more focused on what I can do to make this smile look great, but I wasn't looking at the whole picture. So what this software really helps with is to give you a good idea of what kind of gum problems you possibly can have, and also how much of a gum problem there is. So if you look at this slide, for example, you can see that this patient has got a gum issue, and that needs to be analyzed. You've done the mock-up, you can have a better where that needs to be. So I'm just waiting for that to refresh. Okay, so if you look at that slide, you can see the crown lengthening needs to be done to more or less that level. And how do we know it's more or less that level? So from the software, I've extrapolated the outlines of the actual mock-up, and we can see that the patient needs about 1.5 to 1 millimeter of crown lengthening there, but also that the patient, if you look at the 2 lateral, needs to be physically longer as well. So in a case like this, it really helps you to just analyze what you are seeing and putting that into a better way of thinking and a better way of planning. What I then do is, for example, on a case like this, I would send him the photos and I say to him, Chris, I've done the analysis for this patient. I'm going to refer him to you for the crown lengthenings, and he will then do these crown lengthenings for me. So the advantage of that is that I can send this to him quite easily, and he can know on which teeth he needs to work and how much he needs to take away to make that gum height correct, so that when you do the final smile design, that it looks quite nice. So on this next photo, this is just a photo of the pre-op situation and the mock-up in situ. So those are not the real crowns yet, those are just the mock-ups, but this is what you can use for yourself to do the designs if you do it yourself, or you can send it to a lab. Looking for. In the software, you can calibrate the software to do exact measurements as well. Say, for example, you can measure the width of the central incisors, you can program that in, and then you can actually do exact measurements of the crown lengthenings that you need. So it can become quite advanced. It just depends on how much time and effort you want to put in using this. But yeah, it gives you a good idea of what you can do with that. So the next advantage is it helps you to analyze the midline. And a lot of people talk about midline and the importance of that. I think midline is not that important. So this slide and this case that we did was a typical case of where the midline of the teeth was not the midline of the face, but the vertical line between the two incisors were actually canted towards the patient's left-hand side. So if you get a case like this, where the midline of the teeth is not the midline of the face, then you will have a much better understanding of where that vertical line needs to be. So for me, the main and the most important thing when we start doing smile designs and designs of the actual incisors is to get that vertical line correct. So the more difficult thing is to translate that vertical line from your patient into your actual CAD software. So once you've analyzed this vertical line, you know now, for example, that in this case, we know the vertical line is slightly canted. So we're going to need to focus on getting that vertical. And also the midline will not be such a big issue. So this slide shows you the completed case where the vertical line is corrected, but the vertical the vertical line of the design is not the midline that we've worked to. But it doesn't matter, you know, a patient like this, we're talking about a millimeter. So just hold on for me. Can you all hear me? Okay, I just got a message from the software that says it's not working properly. Okay, can we go to the next one? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just recap on this slide. So vertical line corrected is more important than the midline. So make sure that your vertical is correct. If you do your design and your vertical is slightly off, then the whole design will look terrible. But yeah, that's where these kind of softwares come in, and it's quite handy to use. So using Smile Designer Pro has really helped me to analyze these things much better, much easier, giving us much better predictable results. I'm going to just do a quick poll again. So if you use a 2D mockup, what software do you use? Okay, so most people will be either using Smile Designer Pro or Smile Designer Pro. It doesn't really matter which kind of software you use. It's purely just that you are using something to help you. I use basically Smile Designer Pro because I'm used to it. It's easy for me. Once you've got the full software, you don't pay per case and things like that that DSD charges. But it doesn't really matter what you use as long as you use something that works for you. So the overview of the software and what it does is it's basically 6 stages. So the first stage is to take photographs, and for the photography, it's really good if you tomorrow evening about photography and equipment and things like that. So we've got a fairly standardized routine now for taking the photos. Stage 2 is checking the anatomical landmarks, so that will be midline, eyes, mouth, nose, those kind of things. Stage 3 is it will align the full face and the retracted full face photo. So when you take the photographs for this, you need only basically just 2 photos. You don't need to make it more complicated than that. Stage 4 is you do the mock-up on the retracted teeth. Stage 5, switch on the simulation, and then stage 6 is to export that. So what photos do you need? So you just need these 2 basic photos. So you need a smile photo, and you want the ideally the head side back, so that you can see the ears, and you want a little bit of space between the incisors. So the teeth not in occlusion, so you want a little bit of blackness showing behind the teeth. If you look at the retracted photo, I made a mistake with this retracted photo, so the patient was in occlusion. It doesn't really matter so much for the retracted photo, but it makes it easier to do the alignment of the 2 photos where they are overlaying, and you'll see that in the demo in a moment. These 2 photos is the basic that you will need. You can actually just do it with the smile alone, but then you won't be able to analyze the gum heights and the proper angles of the teeth. But if that is all that you need, you can just do it on a smile photo as well. So let's have a look at a video of the smile in action. I just go for the file quickly. So I just load up a different file for you to watch. So this is about 5 minutes 50, and I think this is in the actual, it's slightly sped up as we used for our MSE students a while ago. The software then analyzes the face, and it does basically all of this automatically. You can alter it a little bit if you want to, if the lines are not completely matching up. And these 2 dots you use for the alignment of the 2 photos, or the overlaying of the 2 photos. You just have to find 2 identical points. You have different libraries that you can use as well. And then it's quite easy to change the angles of the teeth, and mirror things and copy from one side to the other if you like to copy things exactly. As you know, in most cases, no person has got exact copy from right to left. It's more to get the symmetry right that makes the case look nice. And then you can move the outlines of the teeth to fit nicely in with the existing gum margins if you don't want to change those. Then you can switch on the simulation once you've got your machine right, and you can move the cylinder inside those margins as well. can make them whiter or darker, add shadows. Then once you go to the normal view again, you've got to just mark the lip line. This is called the smudge. So if you put it out too long, you need to smudge up or into drag into like the single areas. You use the smudge tool for that. You can see the angles of those teeth needed to change a little bit. Then once you've done that, you can export your photos in a nice high quality. You can then email those to the patient. You can basically switch on and switch off all the layers that you do. So if you export the outlines, you can do the outlines. If you want to export the pre-op, post-op, you can do that separately or together like this. If you want to do a retracted view with just the, you can do that as well. So it's a lot of different photos you can export from there. But yeah, it's a really handy tool, and it works for me. So yeah, it really helps to just get that. Firstly, get your patient involved and being able for the patient to see if they, would like something like that. When I do the export, I send quite a big disclaimer with, so that when I send the email out, that the patients know this and this is just going to be, it's an animation of what it probably will look like. It's not a definitive final proposal. But it gives them a good idea of how it will look like when you correct the harmony and the aesthetics of this. Important that our patient doesn't come in and expect too much from you. The biggest problem with most of the small designs or small mock-up software is that you can overpromise because you can change things basically in a 2D format to make it look perfect, but it doesn't mean you can actually achieve that. The biggest advantage for me of using STP is that I know when I have done it, I know more or less that I can nearly achieve that or close enough, because in the more advanced phases of this, you can actually bring in your pre-op scans and things like that. It's not a full 3D design software, but there is ways and means of translating the library that you've used in the Pro into a 3D form. So there's ways of doing it, but is not for this lecture. That's a little bit more advanced. So if we go to just a quick case presentation, and then we'll be finished. So this is a case we've done a few weeks ago. So this is the pre-op. This is the outlines and the vertical from Smile Designer Pro. And then this is the mock-up that we showed the patient. So on the new software now, it's very similar to like the Ivo Smile software, where it will pick up the existing tooth colors and things like that, and it will propose a material that will look similar to the existing tooth colors. So there's a little bit of AI coming into the software, which is nice. Constantly developing it. So from that pre-op situation, we knew, okay, we're going to have to make the teeth a little bit longer to basically just get rid of all of, or add more length to the teeth where the patient has ground them away and flattened the occlusal surfaces and things like that. And then this is the final result. So what the software also helps you to analyze is, if you look at that following the lower lip line, you can't follow that lower lip line completely, because if you look at it carefully, there's some fillers in that lip. So the lip thickness is not uniform everywhere, so you can't follow that exactly, but you can follow it to a nice degree that it is harmonious on both sides. A little bit more closely. This is the pre-op situation, and then what we needed was, we need that little bit of length added to the teeth, so that when the patient smiles, that it can that she can show it a bit more. And then this is the final result. So we did a mixture of crowns and veneers for this patient, and then this was on a week and a half follow-up. So all the Smile designs that we do in one day. We use CEREC software, or depending on the case, ExoCAD or InLab, depending on what we needed to do. But this patient, we did 4 crowns anteriorly, and then on the canine and the premolars, we did minimal prep veneers. But all done on the same day, same visit. So the patient gets it prepped in the morning, and then we fit it in the afternoon. And that's a Smile a little bit wider angle. Okay, so that is basically the end of the lecture. I didn't want to go into too much detail, but if there's a lot of questions and things like that, we can always do another lecture that will be more detailed. But I just wanted to give you all a good overview of what the software can do. Thank you for listening. Please visit 3dprintcovid19.com if you want to register for more lectures. Also, for our advanced members on idda.org, you can go and re-watch all of the lectures which will be recorded there. And I just want to say thank you for watching, and whoever wants to do any donations, please do. If not, that's also fine. And then tomorrow evening, Patrick is going to do a lecture on the photography, which will also be directly linked into what we do with these things. So the photography plays a big part in that as well. So thanks for listening, and if you have any questions, please just type them into the message board at the bottom, and I'll try and answer them for you as well as I can.